practice. A balloon has a radius of 6. Describe what happens to the balloon's volume if the balloon inflates and the radius changes to 12. Okay, so let's look at the radius. We have a 6 to 12 relationship. Well, what is that really? If we reduce that, that's just a 1 to 2 relationship. So what's going to happen to the surface area? Well, the surface area, all we do is square that ratio. So that means the surface area, the ratio is going to be 1 to what? 4, because we're going to square the 1 to 2. So that's what's going to happen to the ratio of the surface areas. It's going to be 4 times larger. Right? Okay, let's look at the second one. Describe what happens to the same balloon's volume if the radius is doubled. Okay, so again, we have the radius doubling. What's going to happen to the volume? Well, we've said 1 to 2. To get the volume, you would cube it, so it's going to be 1 to 8. So what is going to be 8 times larger? Right? The big one's going to be, the larger balloon's going to have a volume 8 times larger. Okay, number 3, a sphere has a radius of 4. What happens to the volume if the radius is halved? Okay, so let's see, if the radius is 4 of the big one, and then it's halved down to 2, what's that ratio? 2 to 1. We just reduced these by 2, so it's a 2 to 1, it's getting smaller. So what's going to happen to the volume? Let's see, let's cube them. The large one would be 8, the small one would be 1, so it's going to be 8 times, this time smaller, because it's getting smaller rather than larger. Okay? A sphere has a radius of 8. What happens to the sphere's surface area if the radius is halved? Okay, so if the radius is 8, half of that would be 4. So what's the ratio there? Let's see, that's 2 to 1. It's a 2 to 1 relationship. So what happens to the surface area? Surface area, we square it. So it's 4 to 1. So it's going to be 4 times what? Smaller, because it's getting smaller. Okay, hope you're kind of catching on to those ratios. It shouldn't be too bad. Okay, let's look at the second page. We just got a couple things to look at. Fill in the following table. The first one has been done for you. Okay, if the radius is doubled, that just means it's a 1 to 2 relationship. So it's going to be 1 to 4 and then 1 to 8, right? Okay, what if it's tripled? Okay, so that means it's a 1 to what relationship? 1 to 3. If it's tripled, that would be 1 to, well, let's square those, 9. And then cubing 1 to 3 would be 1 to 27. Okay, what if it's halved? Okay, what does half look like? Half looks like 2 to 1. It's getting smaller. So that's going to be squared would be 4 to 1. And then cubed would be 8 to 1. So what happens to the surface area? Oh, well, let's go back and we'll talk about this in a second. And if it's 4 times as big, okay, if it's 4 times bigger, that's a 1 to what? 4 relationship. So that would be 1 to 16 for the surface area. And then this would be 1 to what? 64. Okay, so let's go back and talk about what would happen. Okay, if it's tripled, the surface area would be 9 times larger. Okay, the volume would be 27 times larger. If it's halved, it's going to be 4 times smaller. And then the volume would be 8 times smaller. And then if it's times 4, then it's going to be 16 times larger. And this one would be 64 times larger. Wow. Okay, well, I hope these charts kind of help set up some of the word problems you're going to work on. And let me know if you have questions.